this past Tuesday, I got to go to a place that I really enjoy but don't often get to go to. The IMAX Theater at the Minnesota Zoo. If you've never been, I highly recommend it, whether it be for a full-length feature movie or just for one of their 3D documentary, like the Flight of the Butterflies, I believe, is there now. It's just an amazing experience to sit in this theater where the screen goes from floor to ceiling and is as wide almost as a football field. Well, no, not quite that wide. Brian, what would you say? 20 yards? I don't know. It's huge. And not only do you get to watch a wonderful movie, but you get to actually experience it and feel like you're a part of it. And movie making has come a long way since I was a kid, and now when you sit there and you watch these movies in 3D, it's like you're almost transported into the midst of them. And so I love to go because it's kind of an escape, you know. You get to go and you get to spend a few hours and you get to be engrossed in a story and be in the lives of the characters and kind of step into this different world. And so this past Tuesday, which happened to be my birthday, Emily and I went to see the new movie Jurassic World. And now, again, movies, you know, for me are kind of few and far between, even at home now, because when you're a parent of a young child, you don't get those opportunities to take a couple hours off and just go and see a movie. So it was kind of a nice treat to be there in the middle of the afternoon watching a movie and just being engrossed in this kind of, you know, big budget action movie. But one of the things that I've always loved, even when I was going to seminary, is that when I'm watching movies, I'm not just sort of seeing what's on the screen. I also feel like I'm hearing the echoes of biblical truths that I know from my reading and study of Scripture. That I believe that God is revealing God's self in so many different ways and in so many different forms, that in our day and age when movies and television are a medium through which so many people hear stories and kind of reflect on their lives through those, it's hard for me to imagine that God would not be speaking through those as well. And so as I sat there and as I'm watching this big budget movie, I could have sworn that I could have subtitled this sermon today, "What I Learned About God and Myself While Watching CGI or Computer-Generated Images, Dinosaurs Destroy, Devour, and Generally Run Amok in a Poorly Conceived Theme Park." Now, from that subtitle, you might think I didn't like the movie. But I really did. I thought it was tremendously well done. And for those of you who have seen it, and those of you who have seen the original Jurassic Park, from which it continues its story, you probably know that of the franchise of the 4 films, this is probably either the best or second best, especially for those who are really fond of the original movie, Jurassic Park. And some of you who might not be moviegoers might be ones who like to read, and of course this storyline comes from Michael Crichton's book by the same name called Jurassic Park. And it's a story about a rich billionaire who discovers that through fossilized mosquitoes that have dinosaur DNA, that they can extract that and create new and living dinosaurs. And of course, what would be more human than to go ahead and genetically create these dinosaurs and then put them in a theme park? For everyone to enjoy, right? Make a profit, right? And so the original Jurassic Park, we have a group that goes to sort of test the theme park. It's not open to the public yet, and we find out that with all of the control, with all of the things that have been put in place to make sure that everyone is safe, that chaos still finds a way to reign. You know? There's always a glitch. There's always something that can go awry, and if you're not ready to handle the situation, things can get out of control pretty quickly. Well, fast forward. Now, close to 20 years or more past the time when the original movie came out. There's been a couple of other sequels, not so good. But now we find out that in the storyline, they have found a way to wrestle that control. That they have created new dinosaurs. They are still on an island that's supposedly protecting the rest of the world, right? So everybody can feel that feeling of safety and security. But now they've really done it well. They've put things in place and created a theme park that would rival even Disney World. And people are coming by the thousands and the thousands and the thousands, paying thousands and thousands of dollars to have this experience. And whereas in the first movies, there was generally this fear that something was going to go wrong right away, now you're kind of in this environment where everything is good. Everybody's happy. Well, in fact, maybe too happy. Been now probably a decade or more since the park has been open, and they've been doing what theme parks do. They've been adding attractions as they go along, and they have a big water thing, kind of like Shamu would be in at SeaWorld, except, it houses this dinosaur that can both swim underwater and pretty much take out anything in its path. And they have a gyrosphere ride where you can ride in amongst the Stegosaurus and the other vegisaurs, as they call them, and you get an up-close and personal look at these huge, amazing animals. But as we'll find out, attendance is waning. People are starting to complain a little bit. It's not brand new anymore. It's not as exciting as it once was to come and see a Tyrannosaurus Rex. People, us, you and me, the consumer, we're demanding more. We're demanding bigger, scary, more teeth, right? More fear factor. We have to be wowed. If we're not wowed, if our breath isn't taken away, well, I'm just not going to spend my money to go see it. So there's a main character named Claire who is really head of operations for Jurassic World, who at the beginning of the movie has everything absolutely put together. I mean, the first shot of her, as you see her, she's in an elevator and they kind of pan up her body and she's in this immaculate white suit. Hair is all done. She is as put together as you will ever see a human being. And she's in control of absolutely everything in the park. The first time we see her, she is taking a group of advertisers around and telling them about this brand new attraction that they are hoping that this corporation will sponsor. And as we might expect a big corporate conglomeration to do, the first question is, does it have the wow factor? Does it have more teeth? Is it going to scare the daylights out of people? Oh, yes. Yes, this dinosaur has been genetically modified to to be bigger, faster, stronger than even the T-Rex. Boom, sign us up. They're on board. Everything seems to be going swimmingly. More and more people are pouring into the park, but just when you think everything is going the way you think it should, something happens, something unexpected that changes everything. Now, I'm not one for spoilers. I'm not one for giving away the endings of movies. But, I mean, if you've seen a preview, you know that things don't go according to plan. You know that that dinosaur that's bigger, that's teethier, that's scarier, that can't be stopped, finds its way out. And now what? Now what? And as I'm sitting here watching this movie, which many of you may have also seen, I started to think and started to hear some of these echoes. Echoes from Scripture. And one of the first things that I heard, we just together read in the psalm. And we heard those words that the psalmist used so many thousands of years ago to say, "You alone are God. You alone are God. Nothing compares to what you can do." But it speaks to us in that exact same vein that if God alone is God, then the truth is that we are not. Right? And yet we have temptations often. Because we are made in the image of God, we often believe that we can play that role as well. But one thing we learn quickly from even this big budget action movie is that there is only one God, and we should never, ever pretend to play that role. Because that's the ethical dilemma here. And it's an ethical dilemma for us, too. That we can create bigger, scarier weapons. We can create things that might be more convenient, but they can cause more harm. Often we are trying to fix a problem without thinking through sometimes the harm that may cause on another end, not thinking through all of the consequences. And going back to one of the lines from the first movie is that we're so busy thinking about what we can do, we don't always think about whether we should. And that was certainly the case in Jurassic World. We've created a dinosaur that now no one can stop, that doesn't have any weaknesses. So what do you do when it gets out of control? Or when the asset, as they say, gets out of containment? But the other biblical truth, the one that the Gospel of Matthew focuses on today, is about control. About control of our lives. You ever notice that when you think back to your childhood, or I hope this is the case for many or most of us, that when we think back to our childhood, one of the adjectives we might use to describe that is carefree. I know mine was. And I don't always think about why that was. but I think it was because I didn't have to worry about being in control. I had a stable family. I knew that my parents were there to take care of us. And because I had that stable family life, I knew that I didn't have a whole lot to worry about except what I was going to do that day. What I was going to eat, and, it just showed up on the table. Now, I know that's not the case for everybody. And I really grieve that because I believe that that should be the way that children get to live their lives, is in a carefree manner, not worried about all those things that as we grow older we tend to begin to worry about and be consumed by. But that worries me as well. Because as adults, we oftentimes lose that feeling of a carefree life. And sometimes the stress and the anxiety and the worry build up so much that we no longer are enjoying this good creation that God has built. So how do we find that freedom and that carefreeness again? Well, Claire in the movie, as I said earlier, is depicted as this woman who is fully in control of everything, from her look to her clothes, to her job. But behind this, the storyline that we don't see is that she has taken everything and put it into her career. There's no time for a relationship, no time for children, no time for family. Everything has been about work. And her nephews come to visit her at the theme park. And she's giving them VIP passes and all the things they could ever want, but she can't find even a moment to spend time with them. She's got this group of investors coming in. She's got this meeting. So go off, have a wonderful time. Here's my assistant, but I can't spend any time with you. So worried about keeping her life in control that she's no longer even enjoying the life that she has. Which if she would step back and take a look, she would see is a pretty good life. But as the movie will go forward, she will start to reprioritize. She will start to see why taking the time to invest in a relationship, invest in a family, invest in her nephews is actually a big deal. But one part early in the movie, as she is flying away with her boss to check out this new dinosaur pen, her boss, who is another billionaire, is actually he's actually piloting the helicopter that they're in. And this is his first time flying solo. And she's asking him, why in the world are you doing this? And, he's basically saying, well, I want to, so I am. He's kind of taking this carefree attitude towards, what? I want to try it, so I'm going to try it. But he also tells her, as he sees her just tensing up and feeling like her world is about to go out of control as they lift off from this helipad, he says, you know what, we're actually be happier if we can learn to accept that we just aren't in control. To sit back and enjoy the ride, isn't it? That seems to be the point that she's making, that he's making. Now, I added this last part. He doesn't say, except that we aren't in control. I put in God is. And that we, as adults, when we can begin to accept what Jesus talks about in the Gospel of Matthew that we don't need to worry, that we don't need to fret, that we don't need to feel like we need to wrest control away of our lives from God, then we'll actually be much happier. For no matter how much we plan, how much we try and manipulate, how much we try and wrest that control away, we still don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, right? And there's uncertainty in that, and that's scary. I get that. And I am not one of those people that easily lets go of my control. I want to have my hand in it. I want to have my hand on the button type of thing. But in a way, then I'm not hearing what Jesus is trying to tell us about the power and the love and the grace of God. That God cares for all things, all of creation, from the tiniest flower, blade of grass, to each and every one of us. And that God provides. It may not always be in the way that we expect or anticipate or sometimes even want or desire, but God provides. In this world and in the world to come. And that if we can step back and give over that control to God, that a lot of our worry, a lot of our stress, a lot of our anxiety can be placed on the one who can truly handle it. Because God can handle it. Now, there's kind of a line that has been, I think, almost used to too much. It has almost become more of a cliche or a throw-off sentence, and I bet some of you can even say it before I even put it up on the screen. Somebody says, you're all worried, you're tense, you're anxious, you're worried. Well, what do? You let go and you let God. Okay. I want to add just a small piece that I think helps us to understand both the message of Jesus' gospel and from the psalm and the truth that we hear in that as well. And that's simply this. It's not just let go and let God, but let go and let God be God. For when we can do that, we are placing our trust in the one who gives us life, who gives us hope, who gives us purpose, and who ultimately will give us new life, and has through Jesus Christ. Thanks be to God.